Imagine like someone pointing at your family dinner table and just telling you it's a literal death trap.
Wow. Yeah, not just a little dysfunctional.
Right, exactly. Not just, occasional family drama, but a prison that has been holding humanity hostage for millennia.
That is intense.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then imagine them telling you that 5,000 years of human history is just this fundamental error, like a corrupted hard drive that needs to be completely wiped clean.
It's a massive claim to make.
Oh, absolutely. But today, we are taking a deep dive into a text that does exactly that. We're venturing into some incredibly provocative, very radical territory with the translated 2020 text. It's titled Fire at Traditions Part 1, All Family Members Are Enemies, and it's written by an author named Shuofeng.
And right off the bat, because this text contains, well, highly charged religious claims and intensely controversial social viewpoints, we need to make our position explicitly clear to you, the listener, before we even begin.
Absolutely crucial.
Yeah, we are not endorsing these viewpoints. We are not taking sides, and we're certainly not, validating the religious claims of the author.
Right.
Our job today is strictly analytical. We are impartially unpacking the arguments contained in this source material to really understand its underlying structure, the psychology behind its rhetoric, and ultimately its core message.
Okay, so let's unpack this, because to understand the mechanics of any truly radical argument, we first have to examine the source of its authority, right?
Exactly. You need leverage.
Right. You can't just tell people to abandon everything they know about human relationships without some massive foundation of power to back it up. And so Weffing, he doesn't start with, like, a sociological argument about family dynamics.
No, not at all.
He anchors his entire premise straight in the Bible, specifically 2 verses from the New Testament.
Right. He points directly to Matthew 10:36. He focuses on the words of Jesus Christ, warning that a person's worst foes will be from their own household.
Foes from their own household.
Yeah, and that he came to turn sons against fathers and daughters against mothers. And then he pairs that really disruptive imagery with John 14:36, where Jesus states, I am the way, the truth, and the life.
So he's taking very specific ancient texts.
He is. So the text takes verses that theologians have spent centuries interpreting as, metaphors for divided spiritual loyalties.
And just strips away all the metaphor.
Exactly, all of it.
And this is where the text takes this massive, whiplash-inducing pivot right out of the gate. Because Weffing isn't just offering some fresh academic interpretation of these verses.
No, he goes much further than that.
He flat out declares, and I'm quoting the translation here, I, Swiffing, am the incarnation of Jesus Christ in this age.
Which is a huge escalation.
Right. He states he is here to bear witness to those teachings and to actually implement them, like physically taking people into the kingdom of what he called the greatest creator.
The greatest creator, right.
It's like, I don't know, it's like someone taking the most intense metaphorical warning label on a product, deciding to read it completely literally, and then announcing they are the CEO of the company who wrote the label.
That is a perfect way to put it, because what's fascinating here is the psychological shortcut this provides.
It's a shortcut.
Yeah, by co-opting the established, recognized authority of an ancient religion, the text attempts to bypass the natural stranger danger reflex you would normally have towards someone telling you to leave your family.
Oh, I see. Like a rhetorical Trojan horse.
Exactly. It is a Trojan horse. If a reader accepts that first men's premise, that the author is the literal incarnation of divine authority, then the radical instructions that follow are instantly shielded from everyday logical scrutiny.
Because you don't argue with divinity.
Right. It moves the argument from a debate among equals to a divine mandate requiring complete submission.
And once that absolute authority is claimed, the immediate next step is to eliminate all competing authorities in a person's life. Which explains why the text zeroes in on the closest, most powerful human bond imaginable.
The parent-child relationship.
Exactly. The text launches this deeply aggressive indictment against parents. It claims they've kidnapped their children for millennia in the name of love.
Kidnapped.
Yeah, that specific word. Kidnapping. That does a lot of heavy lifting here.
It really does. And the list of grievances the text lays out is incredibly comprehensive.
What exactly are the charges here?
Well, it claims parents treat children as private property. It argues they prevent children from living the lives they would naturally choose, basically imposing their own will regardless of the child's feelings.
Wow.
Yeah, and the author also attacks the tradition of relying on children for care in old age. He frames that as an exploitative burden.
An exploitative burden.
Right. Right. It also accuses parents of forcing their own unfulfilled wishes onto their kids, blaming their own incompetence on them, and, controlling them through this manipulative mix of promises and threats.
Okay, see, I have to push back hard on this framing because this is where the text takes the messy reality of human biology and, twists it into a horror story.
How so?
Well, calling basic caregiving a kidnapping completely ignores the reality of human development.
Yeah.
I mean, a human infant is entirely helpless.
They literally cannot survive alone.
Exactly. Raising a child requires boundary setting, discipline, and imposing a certain amount of will because, a toddler doesn't inherently know that running into traffic is a bad idea.
Very true.
And the idea of relying on family for support in old age isn't some sinister plot. It has been the fundamental social safety net for our species since the dawn of time.
Right, but what Shufeng is doing is deliberately taking those fundamental realities and putting them through a funhouse mirror.
A funhouse mirror, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, by taking the universal everyday frictions of family life, like the teenager frustrated by a curfew.
Or the adult child feeling pressured to succeed by their parents.
Exactly. Or even the guilt of generational caregiving. He takes all of that and recasts it as intentional, malicious control. The author weaponizes normal human development.
Weaponizes it, wow.
Yeah, the argument validates every latent resentment a person might harbor toward their upbringing, but then amplifies it to an absolute extreme. Suofeng declares that relatives in the traditional sense are actually enemies.
And he doesn't just mean they're difficult or misguided. He means they are literal enemies.
Literal enemies.
The text states they are assistants to the devil, actively preventing people from reaching heaven.
Which is profound psychologically. It is isolation through redefinition.
Isolation through redefinition. Explain that.
Well, if you reframe a listener's loved ones as agents of the devil, you create this psychological landscape where the only safe harbor is away from them.
Oh, and aligned solely with the author.
Exactly. It takes the mundane annoyance of, say, a parent asking when you're going to settle down and reinterprets it as evidence of a demonic plot to keep you trapped.
That is an incredibly potent way to make someone feel deeply alienated from their own living room.
It really is.
The text is basically telling you that the people who seem to care about you the most are actually your jailers. And the argument doesn't stop at the walls of the individual home, right?
No, it scales way up.
It takes these domestic issues and escalates them into a global historical crisis.
It broadens the scope from the micro level of the household to the macro level of human civilization.
Right.
The text asserts that the entirety of human history, all 5,000 years of it, across all cultures, is merely a history of failures, characterized by blood and tears.
And the central architect of this suffering, according to the text, is the institution of marriage and family.
That's the claim.
The text makes this massive leap, claiming that the very praise for parents and children is what has caused a boundless sea of human suffering. It argues that maintaining these familial bonds will inevitably lead this current human civilization to disaster.
Or even complete extinction.
Extinction, which is a very specific absolute outcome. By raising the stakes to the survival of the human species, the text eliminates any room for nuance or moderate reform.
There's no middle ground.
Right. You can't just try to be a better family if the concept of family itself is a biological doomsday device.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the author is creating an existential vacuum.
An existential vacuum.
Yeah, when you convince a reader that their current operating system is a fatal error leading to extinction, you induce a state of panic.
And people in a panic
Are far more willing to accept radical solutions they would otherwise reject. The argument suggests that human survival is fundamentally incompatible with the family unit.
And to illustrate this impending doom, the text uses a highly specific and honestly deeply unsettling metaphor.
The boiling frog.
Yes. It describes marriages and families as the pots for boiling frogs in warm water. It says that everyone inside these pots is slowly being boiled down to the animal world and hell.
And the premise of the boiling frog, of course, is that the danger is entirely imperceptible because the environment is comfortable.
The heat increases so gradually.
Right, the frog never recognizes the threat until it is too late. So applying this to the family unit is a brilliant, albeit manipulative, rhetorical device.
So what does this all mean for the reader's own sense of reality?
It means their comfort is weaponized against them.
Exactly. The text is telling you that the love, the warmth, the safety you feel when you are, say, laughing with your family on a Sunday afternoon,
None of that is a good thing.
right? That is the warm water lulling you into a false sense of security. The feeling of being safe is presented as the exact proof that you are being destroyed.
It induces a state of perpetual suspicion within the reader's own mind.
You can't even trust your own joy.
No, you are no longer allowed to trust your own positive experiences of kinship. If happiness is just the symptom of a slow spiritual death, then you are forced to rely entirely on the author's external definition of reality,
Because he has successfully diagnosed a disease that only he can see.
making him the only one who can offer the cure.
Which brings us to the cure he presents. Because if the old system is a literal death trap leading to human extinction, he has to offer an alternative.
He can't just be a doomsayer.
Right. Sufeng explicitly states he does not want to be just a destroyer or a devil. He says if he discredited marriage without pointing to a better direction, the words of Jesus couldn't be proven.
And the solution he proposes uses some surprisingly modern tech-adjacent language.
It really does.
He writes about the necessity of thoroughly formatting all failed programs.
He is talking about formatting the human hard drive. Like, human society and 5,000 years of accumulated tradition is treated like a corrupted operating system.
You don't try to install a patch on a drive that is this deeply corrupted.
No, you wipe it completely clean.
Exactly. The text offers a new program for humankind, the kingdom of the greatest creator.
And the defining feature of this new program is what it lacks, right?
Absolutely. It features absolutely no marriages, no families, and no kinship.
Wow. Zero.
Zero. The utopian vision is predicated entirely on total subtraction.
The removal of all biological and legal ties.
Right. That removal is presented as the singular key to 1,000 years of beautiful life.
It's an incredibly mechanical way to view human beings. I mean, we aren't code that can just be deleted and reinstalled.
It's extremely detached from human nature.
Yeah. But he says he has already created this new program and that people living in it will testify that it is thousands of times more beautiful than traditional life.
There is a catch, though.
A massive caveat.
Yeah.
He says, and I quote, "If you've not lived in it deeply, that it will be impossible for you to imagine."
Which is highly convenient.
Very convenient.
Yeah.
It requires the reader to completely abandon their current life and take a blind leap into the dark before they are allowed to understand the supposed benefits.
This raises an important question regarding how we evaluate absolutist claims. I mean, the text demands complete surrender before it provides evidence of its success.
Right.
But what is truly sophisticated about the rhetoric here is the preemptive defense mechanism the author installs right before demanding this surrender.
Oh, right. He explicitly anticipates the backlash.
Yes.
He tells parents not to scold him so quickly, tells those in marriages to calm down, and tells children who love their parents not to deny him too fast.
He acknowledges that the traditional program is powerful.
Right, and that it will fight against his new program with great power to try and destroy it.
By anticipating the natural rejection of his ideas, he frames that rejection not as a logical flaw in his argument, but as the corrupted program fighting back.
A Kafka trap.
Exactly. It's a closed-loop argument. If you agree with his proposal to abandon your children, you are spiritually awakened.
But if you get angry at the suggestion,
That anger is immediately categorized as a symptom of the very disease he's trying to cure. Your refusal to accept his reality becomes the ultimate proof that you are hopelessly brainwashed by the old reality.
it traps the reader perfectly. Any critical thought is labeled as a software glitch.
Exactly.
And he concludes this immense argument with a massive ultimatum. He essentially washes his hands of the reader's ultimate fate.
He says his business is construction.
Right, and if the reader wants to destroy it, that is their own choice. The text literally says, believe it or not, you can choose for yourself. Those who believe it are blessed, but those who do not believe it will witness the results for themselves.
It places the entire burden of choice and the supposed cosmic consequences of that choice squarely on the shoulders of the listener.
A stark binary.
Cling to your traditional family and face inevitable extinction and hell, or format your life, abandon all kinship, and enter a beautiful, unimaginable utopia.
The text leaves absolutely no middle ground for reform, compromise, or slow evolution.
None at all.
We have journeyed through some truly intense psychological terrain today.
We really have.
I mean, we started with the reinterpretation of biblical scripture to claim divine reincarnation, then moved through a systematic indictment that reframed the entire concept of parenting as a millennia-long kidnapping.
We examine the metaphor of family love as the warm water boiling the human frog.
And finally looked at the proposed formatting of society to eradicate kinship entirely. It is a highly concentrated, radically disruptive piece of writing.
It attempts to dismantle the foundational building blocks of human cooperation.
Which brings us to the ultimate relevance of this deep dive for you, the listener.
Right. Why spend time deeply examining a text that demands the destruction of the very foundations of your social world?
Because analyzing radical absolutist arguments is one of the most effective ways to build intellectual immunity. When we encounter a text that wants to completely format society, it forces a conscious reaction. By observing exactly how this author weaponizes everyday family friction and transforms it into a cosmic battle between salvation and extinction, you learn to identify the mechanics of rhetorical manipulation in other areas of life.
Engaging with an argument that demands the complete dissolution of the family forces you to articulate exactly why you value the traditional structures you live in.
It moves your appreciation of your own social safety net from a passive assumption to an active, reasoned understanding.
Right. When someone tells you that your home is a prison, you are forced to re-examine the bricks and mortar of that home and consciously acknowledge why you built it in the first place.
It makes the invisible visible. The source insists that true human happiness requires the complete eradication of kinship and family bonds. But I want to leave you with one final, lingering question to ponder on your own.
What?
If we actually did format the program, like if we truly erased all those biological loyalties, all those messy, frustrating, beautiful, deeply human bonds, what would be left to hold people together in this new program?
That's the real question.
Right. Would an existence completely devoid of family ties actually result in ultimate freedom? Or would it just be a different, profoundly isolating kind of captivity?
Indeed.
Something to think about the next time you find yourself annoyed at a family gathering.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.